and esteemed friends. The topic I would like to cover today, how important is collaboration in the current scenario. The world is changing very fast, as you can realize from many presentations. Each presentation, of course, bring to your realization things are changing fast. Now today is the time for thinkers and creators who can think big, who can think fast, and also who can implement things at a scale which is expected. In all these things, innovations are the most important aspects, and realizing the importance of innovation, the government of India at the very highest level at the beginning of this century formed the National Innovation Council to create the intellectual background and to create the force, the thrust on innovations in the country. They defined innovation in a very broad way. It is thinking differently, creatively, and insightfully, particularly to enable solutions which have impact on our social and economic life. And also, innovations are not just R&D that is carried out in the formal organizations. It is also, innovation is a culture that has to come to the people, so it is moving beyond R&D to mean new applications of old technologies, new processes, structures, organizational creativity, and more. So this gives the very broad backdrop for innovation policies in this country. As we know, India is spending just 3% of the R&D that is spent all over the world. We have a great aspiration to become economic power, but still our R&D spending is limited. This is something which has to go further, certainly. And if we look at the global investments, they are all in the fields like life sciences, information technology, electronics, aerospace, defense, and so on. While always people may be attracted to enter into these areas, I think the India, which would like to become a power on its own right in terms of creativity and application of creativity, should also look at what are the special opportunities in its own context, its own needs, its own priorities, and also how it can align to take advantage of the global opportunities that come. It means that not necessarily we will follow the path that is followed by other countries, particularly economically advanced countries. However, are we ready with an environment which can promote creativity, creative atmosphere, encourage innovation? This is a big question. The great engines for innovation are young minds particularly in institutions, educational institutions of higher learning. Unfortunately, when we look at this scenario in our country, it is just 4.2% of the effort that goes on in institutions of higher learning as far as R&D expenditure is concerned. Of course, this improves with the time, but it has to be substantially higher if we look at the experience of most successful countries in the field of innovation. So many minds in India have been worried about how we can promote a system that can promote innovations, that can bring about innovations in a bigger way. The 12th plan, there were several working groups, and many experts were consulted, and there were several ideas that came up for strategies for the next 5 years and so on. So many new ideas relating to how we should organize R&D. As you can see, many people felt that any R&D taken up, it should be looked from a global perspective rather than just reinventing the wheel. We should take best advantage of what is available elsewhere, but at the same time, we have to chart our own paths. And the ideas like how we can bring about collaboration, particularly through the cluster concept, essentially to create an ecosystem, because each organization with a focus can only achieve a limited purpose. Creating a center of excellence, others contributing and using the facilities, infrastructure was an idea that was there, and several areas, as many as 50 different areas were identified by experts where center of excellences could be created in universities, and it could be developed as inter-university centers. And similarly, interdisciplinary centers to bring about the synergy between various fields and so on. Already, many of these ideas are being tried by various government departments. Some of the presentations you have seen that the approach is changing. Now, many government organizations are worried they are not able to spend the money that is identified for the budget in terms of the actual research activities through institutions and achieve the results. So essentially, they are also now looking at how the institutions could be mentored, and we can develop different types of organizational structures. If you look at the way in which DBT or DSIR, DST and so on, many options are available to pursue the research, development, leading to innovations. So essentially, there are ideas about clusters, there are multi-agency efforts, and even in the context of global collaboration, we have 1 by 1 or 2 by 2, where both academic and industries join together to create collaborative programs. In addition to this, we know that India is a big laboratory of challenges. If you want the biggest challenges in any field of research, I think India is the place, because we have so many problems. Take it in the field of health or energy or water security, agriculture and so on. There are several challenges for innovations, for research and developments. Actually speaking, this is a very triggering environment for innovations. But still, if we look at a decade's statistics for either patents generation or even publications of high quality, still our progress has been, we can say, modest. It is not to the scale in which we can make a global impact with this level of achievements. So essentially, there is a cultural problem. The cultural problem is one of trust deficit, essentially our willingness to come together and collaborate. This is something which is to be seriously addressed if we have to really achieve the synergy of various institutions. Especially we have very good young talent who shine very well when we interact with the best of the institutions. From the space program, I can tell my own experience when we interacted with NASA or European Space Agency. We were interacting as equals. So we have the capability in the young people. The question is how we can translate this capability within our own country into achievements of very high order, where we can make economic and social impacts. So essentially the collaboration is the key for that. For that we need an ecosystem. Ecosystem has different elements, as we can putting in a very simple terms. We have the technology, which is a very specialized area. We need support in terms of resources, which provided by finance, and we need skills, skill development. Today in our country there is a lot of emphasis is given for skills. The major difference in bringing about innovations in our country and elsewhere is the difference in the skills. We don't impart skills to the graduates in engineering, science. If you look at the world scenario, particularly Germany or other countries and our country, the vocational skills that are imparted there is a big difference. So this gap has to be filled if we have to really achieve innovations. So the skills and mentors, all this forms ecosystem, and we need a collaborative thing. So the National Innovation Council strategy is rather broad. It is not through a centralized system that we can achieve innovations in our country. You need platforms, decentralized systems which can encourage effort from every quarter, be it a public organization, private organization. They should be able to function very effectively. This is what is needed. And in our country, we also have the objective of inclusive development. So essentially, we should drive our innovations towards providing better access, better affordability, better availability, and so on. These objectives should drive the innovations. And some examples certainly are emerging in the country, particularly now many private sector investments are happening in the field of education. And education is also becoming competitive, and also there is very large amount of opportunities also there in that field. So many private organizations are innovatively thinking how to develop the institutions into something like a base foundation for promoting innovations. Coming from the Jain University, I could give some examples, like the Jain University has a Center for Emerging Technologies. Their focus is on some multidisciplinary cutting-edge technologies like MEMS or tribology or nanobiosciences, energy, or autonomous systems, particularly in the aerospace field and so on. Several challenging projects are undertaken, and of course the funding has to come from many agencies which support such projects. And of course, each project, what is particularly important is that they have a collaborative element, not that everything is done from within the institution. The accent is on efficiency, accent is on best use of the resources available, and depending on others for the resources from the other side. So you can see that this can spawn collaborations not only from within the country and even on a global basis. That is what we see in this institution, which is now giving certain thrust areas for research like material sciences, aerospace engineering, or in the field of sustainable development, particularly for the energy conservation and so on, and in the field of life sciences like biosensors. So in each of these areas, there are several projects which are very challenging, and where other institutions association is also sought, particularly from Institution of Engineers. The CET is involved in many projects with the NDRF. So essentially it is this type of approach of approach to collaborate is very important. Coming to the field of education also, we have an institution for aerospace engineering and management. Here again, the concept is one of bringing in all stakeholders engagement. When we generate trained young people as our products, it is necessary that they find challenging career opportunities, which is very fundamental for the growth of the institution. So essentially, from the very beginning, their engagement is there in the highest management level, so that the courses, the training activities are developed in tune with the needs of the industry, and these are constantly updated. And today, there are many opportunities opening through this approach. Many companies which have research centers or MRO facilities, they need trained people. So they are looking for training not only the people in India, but also the people who work in other places. So essentially, this has opened up for collaboration with very reputed educational institutions in France, in Toulouse, in Russia, and so on. So such opportunities have opened up through the approach of engaging stakeholders. So essentially, I want to give a message that if we need a collaborative R&D, it just doesn't happen by accident. We need an orchestrated effort, the effort like what NDRF is doing from the Institution of Engineers. Essentially, today, many educational institutions have limited resources. They need very sophisticated facilities. So, you need platforms of these facilities which are accessible to all educational institutions. Otherwise, each educational institution going through the process of certification, getting clearances from each government department, it is going to be very difficult. So essentially we need cooperation and creation, a kind of consortium approach is needed to create facilities which can be commonly useful for various educational institutions. Secondly, we also need to emphasize on the standards, on excellence, so that we can sustain over a period of time. It is easy to start an institution, but to sustain it, it is very difficult. So essentially, when we have several organizations competing, it is necessary to organize ourselves. This is how industry is organized. You have tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, and integrators. So the people of different sizes, different capacities at different levels could be accommodated, and still they could survive over a period of time. It is not a competition which will destroy many people, but would recognize the investment from different people, at the same time reward the efficiency of various competing organizations. So we need a very organized approach for the collaboration. This is what is very important. That's where I think the academies, the industry associations, the professional bodies, they should all play a big role in organizing various industries so that they can survive. Every country is doing the same, and in India we are not doing enough in this respect. That is very important if we are talking about collaboration research. Unless we do this, we cannot have sustainability of many industries which come up. Thirdly, the higher educational institutions should take up research, more and more research, more support is needed. It's still, as I showed you, it's still at a level which is suboptimal, and there is a potential, and more PhD problems should be very relevant to industry. I was interacting once with the chief of the Biocon, and she was mentioning that the kind of problems, PhD problems, she was ready to support through fellowships, but not enough proposals of high quality is there. So industry is ready to support, provided educational institutions are ready to take up the challenge and take up the research activities which are of use to them, which they are, find attraction. So I would like to conclude that we need a transformative development. If we are talking about a transformation, a development, we need a quantum jump in R&D investment, wider engagement of diverse stakeholders, expanding higher education and research, particularly giving attention to standards and quality, and we have to improve the total ecosystem of innovation. The ecosystem includes financial support, mentoring, incubation centers, in all aspects, the marketing support, everything. So this is what we have to create if we are talking about collaborative research. Thank you very much.